Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girls podcast with your host, Jennifer Loading.
And Brianna Drellis, and together we are the Starter Girls.
Where extraordinary decisions produce extraordinary results. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills, photographer of Glad Models Agency. If you are here in the Dallas or surrounding area and looking for some photography work, check out Walt Mills. You can learn more about him and his work at photosbywalt.com.
And you can also head over to startergirls.com, check out some of our episodes, and also, of course, iTunes. And if you're over there on iTunes, be sure to give us a review. We certainly appreciate it.
We do. We need those. We love them.
We need those reviews.
We love hearing from you guys. All right. Today is a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up. Be amazing. Be you. Do you. All right, my friends, I'm super excited to welcome our guest to the show today. We're excited about this. I love what she's doing. This is Lynne Eichenbaum. She is the owner and creator of Garden Sleeves by NOMPI Gloves, a patented line of long sleeve gardening gloves designed to help protect the arms from poison ivy, mosquito bites, sunburn, dirt, stinging nettles, which I know what stinging nettles are. Those are awful. And all things itchy. She's like speaking my language. All things itchy. Lynne came up with the idea for her gloves when she contracted poison ivy from weeding her yard. A self-taught seamstress, Lynne's vision came to life when she constructed herself a working garden sleeves prototype. Loved the result and couldn't wait to share her idea with fellow gardeners. Her little project became Garden Sleeves by NOMPI Glove Co. Her gloves have had smashing success at huge flower show events in many states, including Connecticut, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Virginia, East Coast. Her gloves are also sold in many garden centers throughout the Northeast. And this is where it gets really fun, I think. I love that she's diverse here. Lynne is a graduate of Washington University in St. Louis, where she received a BSBA in Human Resource Management. Lynne's creativity blossomed in her television career, where she worked on numerous daytime talk shows, including ABC's TV's The View, Handmade by Design, and The Main Ingredient with Bobby Flay. She is the author of a series of 10 children's chapter books entitled Remote Control Adventures.
There's a lot going on.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show, Lynne. We're super thrilled to have you here today.
Jennifer, Brianna, thank you so much for having me. Really, I'm honored to be here. I appreciate it.
I love it. So I was reading this bio and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's like just a creative, like I just in all different ways. And I love this because she's so diverse. So like got lots going on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many things going on. It definitely begs the question like, okay, so what are you doing right now? And do you have time? Like what do you have time for? And how do you, all the things, right? But we're all kind of, we like to have our hands in all sorts of pots. So I think that's the other reason why we're both so intrigued, because you have such cool stuff that you've done, and I'm sure that you continue to do.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm very type A, so I don't like to sit still. And, you know, I got my start in television. I was working at The View. Actually, I started at Lifetime Television, and I worked on Handmade by Design and Main Ingredient for a number of years. And then the director of Handmade by Design and Main Ingredient, turns out he was going over to ABC to work on this brand new show called The View. And he asked me to come with him, which was amazing. So I went over to The View with Mark and we started this show from scratch. I was on the first directing team there. And it was amazing. I got to meet so many incredible people. I was the production assistant, associate director, assistant stage manager. And then eventually I left that career to start a family and I moved out to the West Coast. We lived out there for a number of years, then moved back to the East Coast. And, you know, I had made the choice to be a stay-at-home mom, which I never regret. I have 3 beautiful children. But it came to a point where I was really looking for something else because, like I said, I'm so type A. I really needed something else to throw my energy into. So I decided, because I was still home, why not write a children's chapter book series that sort of was similar to Magic Tree House and, you know, the smaller chapter books for like the 1st to 4th graders. So I sort of based it on my children's, or not my children's, I based it on my TV background. And I have the books here. I'll show you guys.
This is great.
So They're so much fun. These are 3 of 10 of them. And it's basically about 2 kids named Zach and Lana. And there's this evil television producer who infiltrates TV land. I got this idea from working in TV. And he has stolen the show script and he's rewriting the ending so that the bad guys win. So what Zach and Lana have to do is zoom into the TV. They have to go on a quest to find the script. And once they find the script, they have to creatively rewrite the ending, setting things back the way they're supposed to be. So that was sort of my brainchild for Remote Control Adventures. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. That took about 4 years, 10 books in the series. I started doing author visits up and down the East Coast. And I love talking to kids and sharing my stories with them. It was awesome.
That's incredible. I love this. I have young children. You know, your youngest is about to grad, like is a
Yeah, mine are
senior.
big, but I love
Yes.
this.
Yeah, no, it's just so fascinating. We've both authored books as well. So when I saw that you were also an author of 10 chapter books, I was like, this is so cool. I'm fascinated. But the whole chapter book series, like thing is, that's not easy. Like to create, you know, in a consecutive, like in order group, right? I mean,
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like a lot, but that's
Well,
very cool.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I would sit and brainstorm with my daughter. We'd be upstairs and we'd finish one book, and I'd say, okay, so book 8 was about, a baseball team that gets trapped on the 13th floor. What should we make book 9? And Lana, my daughter, would be like, you know what? How about a creepy clown? Let's do that. Because everybody's kind of either loves clowns or they're a little afraid of clowns. So we made book 9 about a state fair and the producer becomes a clown. It was a lot of fun. So
Oh.
when I was done, right, because my goal, I think it's really important in life to set goals for yourself, realistic goals. And my goal was to write 10 books. And when I completed that goal, I said, okay, I'm good. And I started substitute teaching at my son's school just for, something to do. And then, I live in New Jersey and I'm a big gardener. And the gardening gloves I always used ended, right here, like most gardening gloves end. And I have very sensitive skin. So I would get, when I was getting in there with my tomato plants and my zucchini plants, I would get like little, dots and itches. I know you guys have fire ants down there. We have poison ivy is a big issue. Ticks is a big issue here in the Northeast. So I would be gardening and like I said, my arms would be very, very irritated and I have to come inside and I would scrub them with soap and water. So one day I'm getting out of my car and I look down and my rock bed has 3 sprigs of something in it. So I put on my little gardening gloves and I went over there and I picked my sprigs. And 24 hours later, I had poison ivy up and down my right arm. And I said, oh my God, this is so bad. I want, and I had this like that light bulb moment. I said, I want a glove with an attached sleeve. Like I just want a glove with a sleeve because face it, nobody wears a long sleeve shirt when they're gardening, right? We all wear sleeveless like I'm wearing now. So I just wanted a glove with a lightweight, breathable, 100% cotton sleeve that had a very easy, comfortable elastic band that would stay up. And that way I could do my gardening. And then when I was done, my arms would be protected. And when I was done, I literally could take it off and drop it in the wash. And that was my whole brainchild. And I searched on Amazon. I looked on every gardening site and I could not find a garden sleeve is pretty much what I wanted. They had these tight industrial Kevlar sleeves that were like cut resistant, but really hot and polyester. And I just wanted almost like an article of clothing attached to a glove. So I made myself a prototype because I had taught myself to sew and loved them. So I made myself a second pair and I said, what the heck, I'm going to start a company and I got a patent on it. And that's where Garden Sleeve started.
I think this is so good because I think the thing that I'm hearing here is that, so many times people create things, but they don't always have something that is birthed out of a need like this. I mean, yes, there are those that happen, but, you're telling this story about how you're out here in this garden picking this, and I can 100% resonate with that because I have sensitive skin. So when
Yes,
I'm reading this and I'm talking about, we have poison ivy here too. I could tell you plenty of
you
stories
do.
about that. Yeah, I could tell you plenty of stories about that. But the thing is that, you created this out of this need because you had a particular situation where you're like, okay, I'm out in my garden and, I get done and I've got this itchy skin. I want a glove that I can put on it. And I love the part where you said that I can throw it in the washing machine because I
Mhm.
think that, especially for us, like give us some simplicity here, right? I don't want to be cleaning gloves. And I'm thinking even like Lynn, we have dogs and cats and stuff in our house. So I've had dogs
Hmm.
forever, and I've had dogs that are very like their fur is itchy to me. I'm like
Mhm.
thinking you can clean.
I know. No,
You
totally.
can.
I'm thinking of that
Yes.
because I'm real sensitive to my dogs too.
Hmm.
Like I have to wash my hands immediately and cats too.
Sure.
But I do not purchase a real Christmas tree anymore, and I
Mm,
haven't for 6 or 7 years because when I put the lights up, the pine needles poke me and my entire arm like blows up.
yeah.
And I'm thinking this could be great because my
I
house could smell like
actually,
pine.
Brianna, I have that on my big sign that I bring to trade shows and try stringing Christmas lights with them because
Aha.
people have,
Mm.
yep, you are like brilliant because people have come up to me and said that. And I was like, that is a fantastic use for them also in the winter.
Yeah.
So it's not just a summer use, it's also a winter use.
You need, sorry, I'm already looking at it. I'm like, I see that you have the red and black flannel one. I'm like, I want like a holiday. Like, I want like snowmen or something on.
Brianna's like, I need some of them gloves, and
Now,
she's
I need them now.
you need them now. So I guess what I want to kind of dive into here because it to me, listening to all of the things that you've done here, you're
Hmm.
obviously a goal setter and you make a goal and you pursue it. And that's not always easy for everybody, I think. And I think us being entrepreneurs, we understand the importance of that. But I think what I want to ask you is maybe what was something, coming into this project with these gloves, because that's a little different, obviously, than writing books and doing what you did before.
Hmm.
Maybe something that you had to overcome, or what was maybe the most difficult thing that you had to push through to make this prototype become a reality for you?
Well, I'll say probably the biggest mistake I made was choosing the name of my product originally. So I am the NOMPI Glove Company, and NOMPI stands for No More Poison Ivy. When I had the idea for the gloves, I wanted a really cute acronym. So I was like, NOMPI, NOMPI, let's call them NOMPI gloves. And my friends and my husband were like, that's cute, but is it understandable? And I was like, it's cute. I just want to leave it at that. It's cute. So I would go to trade shows and I would be giving interviews, and people would ask me 3 or 4 times, can you spell that? What is NOMPI? Is it named after you? Are you NOMPI? And that actually became kind of a running joke because my nickname was kind of NOMPI. So when my company started really taking off, I realized that I needed a better name for my product that was more understandable to the general public, that was easier to explain, and also that sort of explained itself. And that was a learning process for me. I started the company about 2.5 years ago. So the NOMPI Glove Company is still the NOMPI Glove Company, but my gloves are now garden sleeves. And when I go to trade shows, and for instance, I went to a large craft show, an art fair last weekend, and I had my big sign that said garden sleeves, and people just came up, they looked at it, and they said, wow, that makes so much sense. So I think when you have a new product, you have to sort of think outside the box and say, not just, okay, I think this is a cool idea, but how is this going to sell? And how are people going to perceive this? And is it understandable to people? So that was one of the biggest things I had to overcome. And secondly, was I guess deciding whether or not I was going to patent them, because patenting is actually an extremely expensive process and it's a long process. So I trademarked the name immediately, Nompi and Garden Sleeves. But when it came to patenting, I was like, oh, it's expensive. It's like upwards of $10,000 just to get the design patent. on your idea. And I was sitting at the hairdresser getting my hair highlighted, and I was in all the crazy foils. And this woman was sitting next to me, and I was telling my hairdresser about my idea, and she and I are both big gardeners. And the woman sitting next to me said, "Lynne, I'm so sorry to barge in. Don't think I'm eavesdropping, but it's a fabulous idea, and you need to patent it because you need to protect your idea. You need to make sure it's in the books." And so I sort of took that to heart, and I decided I would go ahead with the patent. So I did, and I'm so happy I did.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I would think for an invention like that or for a product like that, the patent would be very important.
It is, but a lot of times you have to weigh costs, especially as a new entrepreneur. Like you guys know, you don't make a profit for a very long time off your new endeavor.
Sure.
So you have to set realistic expectations and understanding of, okay, this is my budget. This is what I'm going to spend on. And I still have a revenue stream coming in because I never gave up substitute teaching. I did that for 2 years when my business started. And I think that's also an important point. It's like you don't necessarily, if you don't have the funds, you don't necessarily have to jump right in and quit your job and go for it. You can sort of ease into it like I did. And I think that was the best way, at least for me, to do it. I would sit there in the teacher's lounge and I would string elastic during my lunch break. And the teachers were like, "What are you doing?" So I would explain to them what I was doing. And they actually became a huge consumer for me, which was kind of neat.
That's great. I love that, something you said I think that was really important here is that and I'm glad we asked that question because I think that sometimes, when we go into entrepreneurship, we think everything has to be like, we set it in stone from the beginning and that's the way everything just sort of kind of stays along the way. But I think that the important thing here is that you recognize that, hey, I set this up this way, but my audience is not necessarily receiving that the way it was intended. And so you were open to make that change and shift, which obviously is working in your favor. So I think if I saw garden sleeves, I would, yeah, we know what that is, right? So I think this is great.
Exactly.
But you still kept your roots. I think that you still kept that piece that's important to you because I think as creators, we see our vision and what we want to, portray out there, but in the big scheme of things, we have to get our audience to receive it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you hit on a really, really good point. I think it's important to be open to criticism and not to take it personally and to really, surround yourself with people who are willing to tell you the truth and to give you really good suggestions. When I take my gloves to flower and garden shows, the first big one I took them to was the Philadelphia Flower and Garden Show 2 years ago. It was held in the convention center in Philly. This was literally the week before COVID shut everything down. And it was the very first time I'd taken them to a big flower and garden show. And at that time, I didn't carry nitrile gloves because I had always just gardened in regular cotton poly gloves. So I had a whole line with cotton poly gloves. And I was doing well and people were excited about them. But some master gardeners came up to me and said, "Lynne, can we give you some suggestions?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely. Tell me." They're like, "You won't be insulted." I'm like, "No, no, no." They said, "We love your sleeves. We love your idea, but you need to carry a nitrile dipped water resistant glove because it's a better quality. It will hold up. It's still machine washable." And I had never even heard of nitrile gloves. I think it was kind of new technology at the time. So, I looked into it and it was an amazing addition. And I thank them to this day. And actually, when I took my gloves to the Philadelphia Flower and Garden Show this year in June, which was held at FDR Park, they sort of had the, understanding that they should probably hold it outside because of COVID. I had the same master gardeners coming up to me with their eyes open and big smiles on their faces and said, "You have nitrile gloves now. That's awesome." And they were so excited. And I loved the fact that they had given me an incredible suggestion. And I have to say, I sell them like 7 to 1 over the cotton poly gloves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, no, and I think you touched upon more stuff there too, even with the whole idea that when you're having that right people come into your space. Like you mentioned, right when you were saying, I didn't even know what those gloves were. I was thinking the same thing. I didn't know what those gloves are either. It would have been like news to me when somebody came and told me that. But I think the beauty of that is that's how you get better. You learn those things. And like you said, being open to the criticism, willing to take the feedback so that you can improve the product. And so for our audience that's
Right.
listening to this on audio, I mean, she's got the gloves hanging up back there. You're going to have to definitely in a few minutes, Lynn, tell us where to send them. You guys got to see the gloves so you can see what they look like.
They're
But
awesome.
I definitely
are.
will.
They are
Yeah,
so
they're
awesome.
awesome.
And I cannot wait to get some. I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I'll
this is
have
like
to.
the best gift idea ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I keep them really reasonably priced. They're like, $20. I keep them $20 so that anybody and everybody can afford them. I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to fabric. So I have my bestsellers are, I'll look back here. My bestsellers are definitely the sunflowers, the ladybugs behind me, and I have this really, really pretty daisy that I just got in, and I adore it, absolutely adore it. And I'm starting to expand also into the larger wholesale markets. And this year, I did very well at the Philadelphia Flower and Garden Show. So I took those proceeds, put them back into the company, which again, like I said, I think that's really important for the first couple of years. And I actually hired a publicist, and she was able to get me into the National Hardware Show. And the hardware show is coming up in October. And that's a big opportunity for the larger retail outlets to see my product. There's an inventor showcase that they have there that I didn't even know about. And they were able to get me in there. So I'm going to be able to present my gloves to a larger audience. And I'm also taking them next year to the National Lawn and Garden Show, which is down in Dallas, actually. So I'll be,
Oh,
so I'll be
Yeah.
down there. Yep. So I'll be down there in June 14th and 15th. And that's sort of like speed dating between the mid-level companies, like the mid-level retail garden centers and the entrepreneurs. So it should be a really, really great opportunity. So I'm definitely looking forward to coming down to your neck of the woods.
Yeah, you'll have to look us up or we'll have to connect
I
so that we can meet
will.
you
Please do.
live in the flesh for
We'd
real.
love that.
So I had a really good question and then I just totally forgot, but this is all so good. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you really quick. And then if you have some, totally chime in.
Yeah.
For somebody starting out, let's say somebody's starting out as an entrepreneur because you have a diverse background, you've done a few different things. What kind of advice would you offer to them starting out?
I would definitely say start your networking early because that's very important. So I started, I joined the North American Women in Business. It's the National Association of Women Business Owners, and it's a national organization. And they set you up with small mastermind groups in your city of different entrepreneurs. And we all, there are 6 in my group, and we all have different careers. We all come from completely different backgrounds. And what we're able to do once a month is share our successes, share our failures, share our advice, ask questions. And it's so, so important to be able to get that feedback. So I would say networking, definitely. Join the social media groups, join the networking groups, join the national groups. And again, be open to listening and doing focus groups and seeing if your product or if your business really has a market. What I started doing when I started this was, I didn't have my sights on wholesaling or on large flower and garden shows or anything. I started taking them to local craft shows, and gardeners who came up to me would see the idea and they're like, wow, this is really, really cool. And the more craft shows I took them to, the more feedback I would get. And it was positive feedback. And because of that, I sort of had the affirmation that, yes, I have an idea that not only works for me, but I really believe that with all this positive feedback, this product, there is a market for it. So again, it's networking, it's doing focus groups, it's finding out if your product or what you're offering has a market, and then go from there. And if it does, go with it.
I think it's great. I would agree with you on the networking 100%. Everything you said on that, because there's nothing that can replace relationship building. And sometimes the immediate contact that you're in the space with is not the person that's going to necessarily bring you a financial return, but they may offer you something that will help with that, or they may connect you to somebody that becomes the financial return, you know? So
Yeah, that's huge because the connecting too, like you may meet one person who is not necessarily interested in working with you on your particular endeavor, but hey, they have a friend who this is right up their alley and boom, they're going to hook you up with them. So it's getting out there and getting your name out there and, you know, connecting.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's great.
We like networking.
Yes.
Especially me. I love
I know
networking.
you do.
I love networking. All right. I want to
This has been really great.
I know. I want to ask her one last serious question, then we'll wrap this up. But I think this has been a lot of really good information here. So if you were going to define success, how would you define that?
Oh, well, I would define success as make sure you have a personal sense of fulfillment and own what you're doing, and whether it's financial or whether it's just a sense of self, you have to be content and you have to be passionate, because as long as you are doing what you have a passion for, you're going to be successful. And you may be like I said, you may be financially successful, you may be personally successful, but you know, everything I've done in my life, from TV to being a stay-at-home mom to working, you know, doing the book series to making these gloves, I have always been passionate about everything I've done. And I think it's really, really important that you live your life with passion, because if you don't have passion, you're just kind of wandering through life. But if you get rid of that fear and you own what you're doing, it's a blessing. It's fantastic.
She gave me chills.
Passion
Own
is
it, girl.
Yes, passion is so important. I love that. It's like when you, and I think that's one of the things I believe that's hard for people probably like you know, is that if you see someone who's just kind of like sleepwalking through life, don't you just want to walk up to him and be like, wake up? You know, like, I mean, I do. It's like the heart, and they're not asking for my advice, and they're not asking for me to give them a pep talk or a motivational speech.
Sure.
But I want to so bad, because I can tell, like, come on, there's more. There's more out there. Go get it.
I know. I went to lunch with a friend of mine and he said, I was telling him about my gloves and the shows and everything. And he's like, wow, I wish I was passionate about something like, you know, like you are. I'm like, work with me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm like, this is cool.
Find your thing.
That's right. I love it.
Absolutely.
Lots of good moments in here, Lynn. And obviously we can absolutely tell that you are passionate about what you're doing. And I think that's incredible. So
We love your energy. Congratulations on everything. And please let us know when you're in Dallas.
yeah.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Brianna. I definitely will. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, remind us, where can people find the
Fabulous garden
sleeves?
sleeves.
The garden sleeves.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So my website is mygardensleeves.com. So you can go right on My Garden Sleeves. That's my website. That's my Facebook page. That's my Instagram. You can always find me. I'm easily accessible. I have all my patterns and all my gloves in there. You can learn more about me and my product. So check us out.
Very good. Yes, audience, please go check them out. We can see them on the TV. So for our visual people, they'll be able to see the YouTube or wherever it is on Facebook or wherever you're looking, you'll be able to see it. But for audio guys, you're going to have to go check out our site for sure. And of course, we do want to say, if you enjoy our podcast, please be sure you give us a rating on both iTunes and Facebook, because we can't do this without you, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube.
And we also want to remind you to go check out foundationforchoice.org. They're doing amazing things to support high school teenagers and as they get through high school and head to college. So if you want to learn how you can support them and everything they're doing, head over to foundationforchoice.org today to learn more.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I was laughing at our little titles that went by there. I always get a kick out of those little titles that roll across the screen. So we want to leave you guys with a couple fun final thoughts today. I was like, where are the good ones that I want today? Okay, this is fun. When you have a dream, you've got to grab it and never let it go. Do you know who that's by? Carol Burnett. Isn't that cute? I love it. Totally
She's
fits
lovely.
with Lynn's, story today.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, as we always say, in order to have success, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.